Hi everybody, Mr. Dorothy here for our 7th Art for Kids and Adults too. Live. I'm going to give everybody just a second to pop on, and then we are going to get started for today. And today I think we have a really fun artist to learn about. We're going to keep using some polka dots. It's going to be the last time we're going to be using dots for a while, but she's a really cool artist that I want to show. Before we get started too, I wanted to give a shout out. I am wearing all blue today because today is Light It Up Blue Day for Autism Speaks. So we're not in school, so we can't wear it to work, but I wanted to make sure that I'm wearing my blue to show support for all of those students that I have or had that are learning well with autism. So go to autismspeaks.org to find out more information. But today, for our Art for Kids Live, we're going to be learning about an artist named YAYOI Kusama. And she is a really, really cool artist. And I post videos and pictures of the artists that we're going to be learning about and working with in the post from yesterday. And she is a Japanese artist. One of the cool things, I like choosing some artists that the kids work with that are still alive. A lot of times in art, we can get stuck with old masters and people that are, hundreds of years long gone. But she is still alive, still making art. She is she's been described as one of the coolest old ladies. A lot of times when she goes into her openings, she's in a wheelchair and, but she's got a bright red, candy apple red wig and just a real character. And something else that I really like about her work too is, and it's been a theme of a couple of the artists that we've been looking at so far, is, at first she was not well received by the public. They said that she wasn't good enough, or her art wasn't art. And she's now one of the highest selling female artists, contemporary artists, and it's really great. And so I like to show students that, just if some people are telling you that you aren't good enough, or you're not doing what you should be doing, then if you have passion and you have drive and you love what you're doing, then keep doing it, because it'll work out for you. But she is a painter. She does installations. But she's most famous for her polka dots. And the polka dots go throughout all of her types of artwork, her sculptures, her installations. Installations is like transforming a room into a big art piece. And those polka dots kind of go throughout all aspects of her artwork. And she even has some interactive things where when they go into a blank white room with all white furniture, and you can put polka dots and the viewers can go through. But today we are going to be learning about and working with her botanical, or her plant flower creations. So I have a few things started. And so I have basically a botanical, or we're just going to be working with flowers or other plants. So I put on the post that if you wanted to, you could use some colored paper. So I'm going to show different avenues you can take. If all you have is plain white paper, then feel free to use just plain white paper. That will work. If you have colored paper and you want to do some cool things with that, as we're working, you can do that too. And it can be any sort of creation that you want in terms of her plants. She did a whole series of pumpkins. She did a bunch of normal just flowers. For my colored paper one, I was doing like a Venus flytrap sort of thing. Hi, Makai. I think I saw Braxton on here too. Hi, Braxton. Hi, Tessa. So just to get you started, we need our pencil, need an eraser, need some sort of black marker. I have a Sharpie, and I have my markers that I'll be using. If you have crayons, colored pencils, whatever it is that you might want to be watching or working with, feel free to use those. And again, I'm going to be bouncing between different in-progress pieces so that you can, whatever you have at home. My goal for these videos is to be able to allow kids and adults to be creating art with what they have in the house. So I'm trying to create projects that everybody has access to. So just with my blank piece of paper, I'm just going to start out. And again, when I'm just to review some things. Hi, Ms. Villa. I have my pencil. So when I'm holding my pencil, I want to hold it at the end because I want to draw light until I get it right. That's going to make the erasing step that much easier for you. So depending on, and maybe someone wants to give me an idea for a plant. Some kind of plant that I can do one of my examples with. Maybe I'll just leave a plant open. Someone comment and let me know a plant that you would like to see for my example. I have a Venus flytrap and some just normal like daisies and stuff. A pumpkin, perfect. So I'm actually gonna, and I encourage you, just because I'm doing the paper like this, you can turn it like this too. And I'm gonna do a pumpkin because YAYOI KUSAMA, she did a whole series of gigantic pumpkins. And pumpkin's really easy. You just start off with the center. And I'm going to draw just a little bit darker so you guys can see. You don't want to be drawing this dark. But you just start with a basic kind of oval, and then all you do is add go. All you do is start to add shapes to that. And almost like little C's. Tall, large brackets. So, and you can add little leaves or little vines, whatever you want to your plant. And again, it can be a flower, it can be pumpkin. I was looking for something a little crazy. I'm doing like a little Venus flytrap here. So whatever kind of plant you want. And one of the nicest things, or one of the funnest things for me, funnest, is seeing all of your artworks, the things that you guys are creating. And I love seeing a variety. I walk you guys through certain steps, but just because I'm doing one thing does not mean that you have to do the same. So once we have our lines drawn in pencil, then comes our Sharpie or black marker stage. And I'm going to take my time with my black marker, and I'm just going to trace over all of my pencil lines, or the ones that I want to keep in Sharpie. And again, I tell everybody on these videos, and I tell my students all the time, if you take your time on this step, the step after this is going to be that much easier. And back to a little bit about YAYOI Kusama, our artist that we're learning about. She, she was born in Japan in the 1920s, and she ended up moving to the U.S. and New York in the late 50s. I think like 58, 59. She eventually made it to New York. And from then on, her polka dots have kind of gone through all different types of art and throughout the years. And the polka dots have made their way onto paintings, sculptures, installations, and that's just the constant in her artwork. So she is known for all sorts of bright colors and polka dots, like a lot of the other pop artists that we have been learning about. So there's my pumpkin that I started off with. And I did a flower before we started. And I have my paper one. The paper one, all I did was draw out some shapes on, I have lots of scraps and colors of paper, even some with patterns. But if you have like a scrap bin or just some old scrapbook paper, all I did was draw out the shapes with pencil and then cut them out and glue them to a larger piece of paper. So I have my shape here. I'm gonna very quickly, just for sake of the video, I'm gonna do my outline on this one. Now with Kusama, she uses polka dots, and one of our words we've learned about was repetition, and she does a lot of repeating. Repetition is just a fancy word for something that goes over and over again, kind of like a pattern. And she repeats different size polka dots, and that's a really important part of her work, is that she varies the size of her dots. Not all of her dots are big. She kind of alternates big, little, kind of like this. So she alternates big, small, big, small, big, small. And that creates a variation. And we looked at Roy Lichtenstein for our last video, another pop artist. Kusama is not really considered a pop artist. She's considered a minimalist artist. But a lot of the pop artists use the same size dots. But Kusama used this varying size. So I'm going to kind of work on both of mine at the same time. So if you are doing a cut paper version, you can follow along with the cut paper version, or if you're doing just a blank piece of paper, blank piece of white paper, and we have our black outlines, we can go from there. So she's all about bright colors still. So I'm going to start off with my white paper, and I'm just going to start adding some color to that. And I'm going to do just solid color first. So I'm going to do some bright fuchsia on these flower petals. And I'm just going to, again, I create the bumpers, which is, I take my time, extra careful, around the outside of my shape I'm trying to color in. And then I go in the same direction and make sure I don't see any white space. And I'm going to do that for all. Now, I'm doing this color first because Kusama uses solid color and then uses colored black polka dots or colored polka dots on top of the solid color, or she does just colored dots. So we're going to have a little bit of both, and I'll show both of what those look like. So I have my flower petals. So there's my petal. Now I'll show you guys this step. So now I'm just going to go into my individual petals, and that's where I'm going to start my alternating pattern. Hi Jeremiah and Josiah, miss you guys. So I'm going to start my alternating pattern now inside of my flower petal. So I'm going to do a large dot, a little dot, large dot, little dot, large dot, and I'm just going to then alternate that. So opposite. So if I started with big, I'll start with little. And then I'm just going to fill in each petal with those polka dots. Big, little, big, little. So now you can see that pattern and how I'm creating this kind of funky polka dot. And I'll recreate that in each flower petal. So I'm going to do it in my next one quickly for everyone to see. And if you're doing your cut paper version, it's the same concept, except we don't have to color the background. You can just start those polka dots on top of your colored paper. So that's how I'm making sure that everybody has the same abilities to complete. So there's another petal complete, just with those patterns. If I'm working inside of the flower, like the circle of the flower, I'll show you just using plain colors. So I can, inside of this area, I can use just colored dots instead of a colored background. So I can have colored dots on a white background. And there I am now creating this kind of funky kusama pattern. So you can continue that throughout all of your flowers. And I'm going to kind of work around. I'm going to color my stem. And depending on what you're looking for, Kusama doesn't always use quote unquote real colors. You know, she has some flowers that they're just all one color. So they might be all white with red polka dots. I'm going a little bit more realistic with my colors for this. But feel free to use your own vision and create whatever you would like to see. So I'm doing and for something like this, I might use big, little, big, little, big, little. It's that alternating of size of polka dots. It's the variation, the variety. So you can see just the variety in the different colors. So I have a white background with colored dots, and again, big, little, big, little, big, little, or I have color with the black dots. So I'm just going to continue that. I'm going to do some of mine on my colored paper ones. So if I have a pink area, I could even, on top of color, I don't have to use black. I could also use a colored marker on a colored area. So I have this pink. I could use a darker pink for the inside of my fly trap. And to go back to my point that I love choosing artists that might not have been the most popular or well-liked to start off. But now Kusama, her ticket sales for her art exhibitions sell out within minutes as soon as they are online. So she went from, people saying, you're not good enough. And now, she's laughing at them. She's like, I sell out my galleries before the ticket sales. Like they have people waiting online to get her tickets. And she's also one of the most shared artists on social media. A lot of people, she does some really cool installations, which means you can walk into a room and the artwork is interactive. And people share lots and lots of videos of her artwork. So here you can see the dotted pattern again on the colored paper with colored marker. So you can, whatever avenue you're trying, it's the same concept of big, little, big, little, big, little. So I'm going to choose maybe what's this color? Marigold, and how funny is that? So I'm using marigold, the color, for a flower. So I'm going to do that color on color. So I did a yellowish color for the base color. I'm going to do a dark blue for my pattern. So big, little, big, little. And you can feel free to turn your paper so you have the pattern going in different directions. Like this one's kind of going this way, whereas this one's going up and down. The only thing is within a shape, you want to be keeping it the same. So if it's going up and down in one area, keep it going up and down. But the next area, you can very easily change it up. Big, little, big, little. Now, you can see color on color. You can see the blue a little bit better. A little bit of funkiness. Feel free to use all the colors or all the crayons in the crayon box. Kusama loved bright, bold, crazy colors. I'm gonna actually do these. I'll do these in white. So for these ones, I'm actually gonna leave white, but I'm going to color, and I'm going to follow the curve of the petal. So my lines for my dots, my big, little, are going to be curved. And if that's tricky for you, then just do them normal. I'm just trying something different. One of my goals for these videos is to make sure that any skill level can participate. If you consider yourself an artist, if you don't consider yourself. But I also say, in my whatever wisdom I think I have, if people say, well, I'm not an artist. And I said, well, if you want to learn, you just need to take a class. If you don't know how to do calculus or a certain math problem, you take a math class. So the same as with art, you can learn. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way for you, Makai. So big, little, big, little, big, little. So just repeating that pattern all the way around. And I'm going to do maybe a little bit more on my Venus flytrap over here. Big, little. And depending on the area that you're working with, you might be able to make, like my Venus flytrap obviously is much larger in size than the paper for my white paper. So I might be able to get away with making some of those shapes larger. So here I'm making my circles, or my polka dots, much larger because I'm on bigger paper. But I'm still alternating. So if I start with big, I then go to little. But that alternating big, little is an important part about her artwork. And I'll do one more little spot and then we'll go to the backgrounds too. Because the backgrounds, she does a completely different pattern. And if you've already done your background, that's okay. But I'll show you an option for what the backgrounds are. And I have big shapes, little shape, alternate. And so these videos too, while I'm doing some of these patterns, you can find on YouTube right after. It takes me about an hour, 2 hours to get them up, because I have to download them and then upload them and whatnot. But they end up on YouTube at Jason Dorphy. I have a channel on there, lots of videos. I even have some progress videos of me, or time-lapse videos of me doing my personal drawings. So you can feel free to pop on there and watch those. I'm gonna do that beautiful marigold color. I love this color. So it's just that repeating pattern. Big, little, big, little, big, little. And do your best to make, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle, but want to make sure it's nice and round. So if I started with big, I'm going to start with little. And then go little, big, little, big. Pumpkin, you're doing the same exact thing. So if you're using whatever plant you chose to make, so you could be doing this with the pumpkin. So I'll do that really quickly so you guys can see. So if I know I started with the pumpkin. So I have my pumpkin shape here. I'm doing that same pattern of big shape, big circle, little circle, big circle, little circle, big circle, little, and just all the same. So whatever flower, plant, whatever it may be that you chose, you just create the same pattern throughout your whole plant. So I took the pumpkin as a suggestion, but I have been working on my flowers here and my Venus flytrap here. So whatever plant you chose to make, you're just using the same pattern. And again, when I start with a big shape, I'm then going to use the next row rather. I'm going to use little. So I'll start little, big, little, big, little, big. And I'm going quick just so everybody can see the patterns, but feel free to really take your time. This is a nice meditative. So you can see that pattern on that pumpkin. I'm just using that same Kusama pattern. Little, big, little, big, big, little, big, little. Same alternating pattern in whatever plant you chose. So I'll finish up this one area. So there I have that one area of my pumpkin that has that pattern. So then I can keep going. I'm going to finish up my pattern in my fly trap. You know, you can it's really relaxing to make, you know, a lot of people have gotten into the coloring books and coloring pages, but this kind of stuff, just repeating a pattern, is the same kind of meditative stuff that the, you know, mandala coloring books and stuff attempt to create for us. That meditative relaxation. Does that help clear up? How could you do a palm tree? Good question. So I'll do it on a, let me find a piece of scrap paper. So I'll just use a piece of yellow paper just so you can see. A palm tree, very simply, is kind of a rectangle with rectangle, but at the ends it kind of curves. And then palm leaves are kind of like little bananas. They're kind of like little bananas. And then you just make a lot of banana shapes. So that's how you do a palm tree. Okay. So I'm going to keep working on this one so I can show you what our final step is going to be. And if you need some more time, take it. And the cool thing, I think, once the video goes live and you can, or ends being live, and you can go back and scroll through. Big, little, big, little. For those of you that are new to these videos, I do these videos, I have been doing these videos the past couple weeks, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. I go live from my Facebook page, and then I eventually post them to my YouTube channel, which is at Jason Dorphy. And my classroom page is at Mr. Dorphy's with an S, Art Room ES3. I teach at Elementary School 3 for Rochester Prep. Shout out to anybody watching from ES3. So, what supplies do I use? Any supplies can be used. I'm using some illustration markers, and I think Jeremiah has some. I think you guys actually got him Prismacolors, which are really good markers. But you can use these. You can use Crayola markers, Rose Art markers, whatever brand markers you have. You can use colored pencils. You can use crayons. I've been trying to do drawing projects to not make you parents that are at home with their children in isolation bust out paints. If people have access to paints and want to have a paint lesson, leave it in the comments and I'll get one for you guys. But yeah, any supplies work, but I use illustration markers for mine. So I'm gonna do my pattern in here. There's only room for one row, so I'm just doing one big, one little. And my circles actually don't even, they fill up the whole space and then some. So I don't make the full circle because it colors it in or fills it up. So if it goes outside, that's okay too. And what I mean is that circle would probably go on the outside, but I just pretend that it goes on the outside. And I'm going to make sure that my leaves get done too. And if I have an area like my leaves, I don't want to leave that white for my leaves there too. So I'm going to choose a different color to color in. And since I'm going to do a blue leaf. So I have this blue. So I'm going to use that as my background color, and then I'm going to go back on top with a different darker color, and that's when I'm going to add my dots, my alternating sized dots. And then I think we will be ready to do the background. If anybody has any supply recommendations too they need, feel free to message me on Mr. Dorky's Art Room ES3. You can send me a message on Instagram. I will be more than happy to send you links for Amazon or other places you can order, so you can find some supplies that might work for you if you don't know what to get. So here's me again doing the big, little, big, little. And I'm using some of the black marker on here just to make it show up. Now for the background, we're going to choose a lighter color. So I'm actually going to go with a yellow. I'm going to use lightning yellow. she does. Oh, I didn't even finish. I'll do these very quickly. I'll do these quick. So the background that we're going to create, she creates kind of like almost like a crackle that really contrasts with the round shape of the polka dot. And as I'm talking, I'm messing up my pattern. So the crackle is going to be very random, but it's just all about the type of shapes that are being created. They're very sharp and jagged versus the round shapes of the polka dots. It's that time. Mailman must be here. Every day I do a video of my dog's bark. So, there we go. So now I have all of my shapes filled in, and now it's just time for my background. So I'm going to, and again, it can be filled in. You can have your pumpkin, it could be your fly trap, or it could be your flowers, or your palm tree, whatever it may be. In your background, you're just going to start, and I'm going to use a thicker marker. I'm just going to start and just going zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, and just connecting to spots. And just making a bunch of patterns in the background. So the very round polka dots are going to be in contrast of these jagged backgrounds. And I chose a light color just so that the background pattern does not take away from the plants in the front of my picture. And there's no right or wrong way to do these. They can go any direction. They can be any type of line. They can be thick, they can be thin. I'm doing thick because it'll fill up a little bit easier. You can see how I'm already creating that background of a very different type of line. Different type of pattern. And it's just like a crackle or a broken or whatever you want to call these types of lines. We're just creating those. As I'm making these lines, I post the day before a video, so I do these videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I post the day before with the artist, with some resources. So on the post, it has a little cartoon version of me. It has what supplies you might need, and they're there's some suggested and then some necessary. But there's also videos. There's also pictures of the famous artwork by the artist. Resources that you can, and I've been trying to even tag the artist on Facebook or Instagram, whatever site you're finding them on. And again, you can find me on Mr. Dorfy's Art Room ES3 on Instagram, or my personal art page is at Dorfy, DOROFY Inc., or at Jason Dorfy. But all of those pages I've been trying to tag the artist to, so that you can have links right to their personal pages or their artist pages, so you can, you know, look at YouTube and find a video that I have for you to use as additional learning for your child as they're missing their art class. It might be a story, a kid's story that is read on YouTube, or it might be a I found an artist last week that had a little encyclopedia, kids encyclopedia sheet. So it's a way for you to maybe use some of that reading for maybe some of their at-home reading they have to do for, you know, home learning. What supplies? I use illustration markers. This brand Bianyo, Bianyo. There is a pack of like 72 on Amazon. They're like $40. They're, you know, more artist based, not quite student pricing, but they're more affordable than for like this brand Copic marker. They go for, like, this marker is like $8. So those are very expensive, but you know, this is a pack of 72 and it comes in a cute little carrying case, and it has all the colors in it. So this set goes for like $40. But you can use any supplies that you have at home for these videos. Don't feel like you have to get those to do the videos that I'm posting. Again, these are my personal professional artist markers that I use for my personal art. I use them for these videos just to keep it fun and bright and colorful. So I think I am about done. So I'm just going to make sure I get my yellow again. I want to make sure there's no areas of too much white space. So make sure my crackle, and it's okay if some of the lines overlap. That'll make it look even more chaotic. And I missed some spots in between my flower petals, so don't forget to get in there. All right. So there you have YAYOI Kusama artwork. So just make sure that I always like to make sure that we sign our artwork. So I'll put Mr. D. And there we go. There we have a Kusama inspired plant illustration. And again, if you're watching, it could be cut paper and designs on top. It could have been a pumpkin. It could be flowers. It could be a palm tree. Whatever it may be. But feel free to go to the YouTube channel. Again, that's at Jason Dorphy. Subscribe so you can get notifications of when new videos are going up. I've been trying to find fun, bright, colorful artists. I think we're done with polka dots for a little bit though. I realized the trend as I was doing these that a lot of them have polka dots. But go to the YouTube channel at Jason Dorphy. Go to my classroom art Instagram page at Mr. Dorphy's Art Room ES3. Or you can go to my personal art page at Dorphy Inc. DOROFYINK, or my personal Instagram at Jason Dorphy. To find all information, you can find the post about what artists we're learning about, again, the day before, and I'll put resources for people at home to help instruct them about the artists we're learning about. And one last little plug, again, wearing blue today for Lighted Up Blue Day for Autism Speaks. Missing my kids. I hope you all enjoyed. Like this video, share this video, go to YouTube and subscribe, and have a wonderful Wednesday. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.